What's up, everyone? Savage Gamer here, and I just wanted to talk about the current and future state for those of us invested into VR, specifically PSVR2, and address some of the sentiment, concerns, and comments I've seen within the community, and provide my own unpopular opinion as well. So, it's been a year now since PSVR2 rolled out, and goddamn did it live up to the hype and expectation we are all hoping for upon release. We've had some absolute bangers come to our beloved ecosystem, such as Red Matter 1 and 2, which really show the graphical powers and capabilities developers can achieve if they really wanted to. And this was done by an indie development team, Vertical Robot, not some multi-million dollar AAA corporation, as well as games like Hubris VR, a shining example of quality graphics and engaging gameplay done right. But we also have other AAA developers delivering some serious mega hits, like Guerrilla Games' Horizon's Call of the Mountain, and Capcom's PlayStation VR2 ports of Resident Evil Village, and most recently, the Resident Evil 4 remake. Polyphony with Gran Turismo 7 is hands down the best looking racing title available on console or standalone VR headsets. Now, every game I've just mentioned really showcases the reason why PSVR2 is the apex predator of the VR gaming community. However, it is not the golden goose that it should be for developers, and that's unfortunate. So, we're going to get into the reason that may be. But first, I want to say, hope you all had a great holiday season and are looking forward to what 2024 has to offer within the VR landscape. If you care to support non-woke, honest gaming content and reviews, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Also, be sure to leave a like on this video to help my content flourish out of the shadow banned for wrongthink realms of YouTube.
Things. But our work is not done yet.
Okay, so many people are growing concerned over the state of PlayStation's superior VR headset's future, a system that many of us have a small fortune invested into with understandably higher expectations when it comes to the selection and quality of games. I'm sure, as I have, many of you also noticed that aside from a very few standout titles, such as the ones previously mentioned, the majority of titles coming to us are either low budget indie titles or Quest ports with minimal enhancements made to take advantage of PlayStation's more powerful hardware. And I'm not here to just shit on all indie titles. Some truly great indie titles we've gotten, like Synapse by In Dreams, or Ghost Signal and Vampire Masquerade Justice, both by Fast Travel Games, are amazing. We've also seen quite a few PSVR 1 titles receive a PSVR 2 port, some for free, some for a small upgrade fee, and some just ludicrously wanting full retail prices, forcing you to either pay twice, play it on outdated hardware back on the PSVR 1, or just not fucking play it at all. Like Shell Games' Until You Fall comes to mind with a $30 price tag, regardless if you've already purchased it before. Now, I'm all fine for PSVR 1 titles coming to PSVR 2 as long as they've at least been enhanced to utilize the better specs available.
That checkpoint is a blessing.
I'm even fine with paying a reasonable upgrade fee for that enhanced edition. But in my opinion, we aren't getting many games that we all actually want to travel over from PSVR 1. Like, where's Squadrons? Where's Arizona Sunshine 1? Where's the Hitman trilogy? Where's Skyrim VR? or even the multiple pinball VR titles I purchased every single additional add on pack for. Where's that? I'd love to see him play those games on the DualSense with haptic triggers and better visual quality. Wouldn't you too? Hell, why don't we have Astrobot 2 yet? Or even the original ported over? For PSVR supposed mascot, it just feels as if it's been entirely forgotten by Sony. What also seems to be forgotten is the repeated promise of hybrid VR titles, of which, as far as Sony goes, we haven't a single one. Capcom did Resident Evil, Polyphony gave us GT7, but Sony has delivered absolutely nothing thus far. We don't even know what may be coming or when we can expect to see whatever it may be as far as Sony owned developers are concerned. And that's somewhat alarming. So, for the time being, we are all relying on indie devs to push PSVR 2 along. And this is becoming quite problematic because I said earlier, it isn't the proverbial golden goose that developers are chasing. With Meta dominating the VR landscape due to affordable VR, selling well over 20 million headsets, developers generally prioritize Quest 2 and 3 over the superior PSVR 2. Which, yes, PSVR 2 is superior in graphics, hardware, and immersion with its haptic sense controls and advantageous processing power. But it is Quest with its mobile chipset and vast user base that is the dominant ecosystem, and by a fairly wide margin at that. So financially, for these smaller indie devs, it is just more feasible to develop games targeting Quest users first. They will sell more games and don't have the ridiculousness of Sony's notoriously difficult QA hurdles to overcome. And then us PSVR 2 user base generally receive a port of these games which were built originally for the Quest headset with minimal or no enhancements being made, as PSVR 2 is just an afterthought, like scraps tossed to a starving dog. Just be happy we get anything at all. And it shouldn't be this way. I can appreciate nearly everyone that can easily afford a Quest 2 or even 3 headset and get into VR gaming. I think everyone should have access to the most immersive method of gaming available. But at what point does such a low bar of entry start to deteriorate the quality of VR gaming as a whole? And that's where we are now. Nearly every developer's monetary sites are targeted in on the Quest ecosystem. And with its limited capabilities running mobile VR, it's not as demanding to develop for. Many corners can be cut. Resolution, scale, and graphical fidelity can be neglected with a built-in excuse of, well, it has to run on Quest, which we all understand has its limitations. And we end up with a simple port over to PSVR 2, essentially leaving us to play Quest games on our superior headsets. When we should instead be seeing developers developing the very best versions of their games by creating it for the PSVR 2 first and foremost, and then dumbing it down and able to run on the prospective Quest headsets. That way, those who own a Quest can see why it's a great entry-level headset, but there's something far better for a few dollars more worth investing into if you enjoy what you get starting on the Quest. And us PSVR 2 users can better appreciate, discuss, and even inspire others to jump aboard the PSVR 2 train. But that's just one area that Sony seems to have dropped the ball on. Because even with its very limited processing power, the Quest 2 and 3 deliver far more to its user base. Does PSVR2 have access to a web browser? No, but Quest does. Does PSVR2 have the ability to, watch YouTube on it in game or enjoy a little personal time with Pornhub VR, which is free? No, but Quest does. In fact, the one giant benefit PSVR1 had over the Quest 2 was we could also use our headsets as a 3D Blu-ray device, which gave it more use and functionality in the end. But can I watch any of my 300 plus 3D Blu-rays that I amassed and built a collection on due to that feature on PSVR1, but on my PSVR2 headset? Nope. Sony decided they didn't want to provide us with a simple 3D Blu-ray update patch-in, even though a Change.org petition managed to get over 100,000 signatures requesting this feature. So we're limited to gaming only within a relatively small library selection with no word of any Sony developed first party hybrid VR titles coming down the pipeline or any major PSVR 2 specific games coming our way, like an Astrobot 2 for example. This realization has left many of Sony's passionate user base feeling a bit neglected, forgotten, and worried about the state of PSVR 2 and the future of VR gaming as a whole.
You're a natural. Huh?
While title after title seems to arrive on the Quest platform, maybe 10% of those will receive a PSVR 2 port. And of that 10%, how many will actually do the necessary work to bring their titles up to par utilizing the more powerful hardware available? We've seen it a few times with titles like Saints and Sinners, but we aren't seeing it nearly enough to calm the churning waters of worried Sony dedicated VR gamers. To wrap things up on a positive note, all I can really say is hang in there. It's only been 1 year. We've seen some really impressive, visually stunning, and creatively great titles within this first year so far. But Sony really needs to embrace their tech as heavily invested into it as we all have been. They really need to start stepping on the gas pedal and remind everyone why, even though outsold by Meta, Sony remains at the top of the mountain. So Sony, if you happen to be listening, give us 3D Blu-ray support and allow for a multifunctional headset. We also aren't demanding brand new titles, but encourage developers to start porting over the greats we enjoyed on PSVR 1 with some major enhancements. And lastly, we need to see those hybrid VR first-party titles coming out of the woodwork soon. God of War, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, just something to spark some excitement within the community who have been patiently waiting for you to deliver more than just impressive hardware. We need impressive games to go with that hardware. Anyways, that's all I really got for this one. But tell me what you guys are thinking in the comments. What do you want to see Sony do to show us that they are embracing PSVR 2 with the same commitment that we all have had? Do you feel MetaQuest 2 and 3 have a more net positive for the VR gaming industry? Or do you feel that by developers primarily choosing to make their games for Quest over any other headset is eventually hurting VR more than it's doing good for VR? I mean, let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is a discussion I'm just having to voice some concerns that I've known about and throw my own in there as well. But make sure to leave a like, hit subscribe for me if you enjoyed this take, and until next time, have fun, stay savage, and keep gaming. I am out, y'all. Peace!